Hello, hello, and welcome to Get Out of the Boat. I would like to introduce you to Miss Tamia Harris, who is the creator of Gracefully Broken, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her journey. Her scripture comes from Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good to bring to pass as it is this day to save much people alive. And we all know what that means. You meant it for good, but God, or you meant it for evil, but God turned it around and used it for good, for my benefit and for yours. So welcome, welcome. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hello, everyone. I am Tamia Harris. Thank you, Stephanie, for the platform. You have to excuse me. It took everything in me not to wear a red shirt with letters all over the front, right? But I have to shout out my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We are celebrating our 109 years of service today.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you kindly. So I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I am a nurse by trade. I've been a nurse for 19 years now. I graduated from Kent State, and I traveled. Like I always told my mom, I'm only going to work long enough so I can leave. I hated the weather, the winter, everything. I big coats, all of it. So couldn't wait to get out of here.
But it's Ohio, so it is what it is.
Couldn't wait to get out of here. So 18 months after getting my nursing degree, I went to Florida for my first travel assignment. I went from Florida to Michigan to California, which is where I stayed for 13 years. And I just recently came back 2017. So I guess I'm planted here for another stench.
I don't know. What I will say is, as many times as I've tried to leave, I always end up coming back. I lived in California for a little bit too. You know, I tried to leave Cleveland for a few years, and it always ends up like home is home. So it's a good idea to touch base, even if you decide to leave again.
Well, and Steph, I'll be honest. Things that was kind of when things started shifting and changing around that time. So I'll just speak to the piece of being here. When I came back to visit my grandmother. My grandmother had end-stage Alzheimer's. And, I grew up with my grandparents. We used their address so I can go to Cleveland High Schools. Every day I was over there. So that was my girl, and so I had ventured off into entrepreneurship, or what I thought was entrepreneurship anyway. So I was away for a while. I didn't want to leave my business. So my grandmother kept saying, T, need to come home. You need to come home. Where is T? She need to come home. And girl, I swear, by the time I was like, all right, I'm sick of this. I'm going home. When I got home, she didn't recognize me. And it was so funny because at the time I was like, I had a fade, my hair was all short hair, don't care. And every time she would see me, she'd go, hey, son. And I'd be like, Grandma, I'm a girl. And she was like, okay.
Right. If you say so.
Right. So I came home to visit. And because I wasn't working, I came home on a one-way ticket. And when I saw her, I was like, if I leave, I won't see her again.
Yeah.
I stayed. 6 months later, she passed.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, that was in 2017, 2019. My stepfather had a stroke. 2020, he passed. So it's obvious that God had me here when I needed to be.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm done running. I'll be here.
And I don't know why we always feel like too, when we leave, we're running. I feel like we're looking for something that we don't necessarily think we could get here. And then we come home and you kind of find out like the lesson you were looking for has been here all along, right? It's one of those, like, it's a movie almost. It happens to like all of us. You get back and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, but whatever lesson you learned while you were away, you had to come back and now it applies, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So tell us about Gracefully Broken.
So Gracefully Broken is the passion to my purpose. I've always known I was a server. Servitude was my calling. But I've never really felt like nursing per se was where it stops. So I've never been satisfied in the job. Every about 2-3 years, I get that itch and it's like, okay, what's next?
Do something else, right?
Yeah. And so nursing is so wonderful because it allows you to make those changes. You know, you can, whatever you're looking for, you can find it in some form or fashion in nursing. But Gracefully Broken was founded from a place of my brokenness. I had gone through a domestic violence relationship, very abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally.
I wish I could say I didn't know what you're talking about, but I do. So
Yeah, and so that being said, once I kind of pulled myself out, got myself together, I was like, this happens way too many times. It happens way too much. And though we know it's happening, there's certain things about it that we don't know, which I think is partly how we stay in it, if you will. So for me, when I dusted myself off, I had to really think about how grateful I was, how gracious God was to get me out, and all the provisions that He gave me to keep me out. And so in that, I said, though I'm blessed, I know my story is not the normal ending. And so Gracefully Broken was founded to be that recovery and support system that I know most people don't have.
It's such a unique conversation because we have all had an opportunity to view a domestic violence relationship or situation, whether we are personally in one or whether you have a friend or whether, like, we all know where it is. We all know, we've all either been in one or, you know, like I said, you've had a friend who's been in one. I am still amazed at, I remember specifically in my own personal situation, how ashamed I was because I'm like, I'm smart. How did I get myself in this situation? I'm not stupid. You know, what didn't I see? And part of, like you said, dusting yourself off, part of the getting back up after you get knocked down is everything you want is on the other side of fear. So I was so afraid that nobody would believe me, or they were going to shame me. Oh, you stupid girl, or, you know, you should have kept him. Or I ran into a lot of women in similar situations who opted to stay in those relationships as well. And we talked about the strength to leave, the strength to stay, right? Like, do you fight back? How do you preserve your mental? Like, you know, these conversations can go on and on because having been divorced now as well, I do not find myself wanting to offer advice or counsel for anybody to leave their marriage or situation. That's not my lot for you, but I can tell you what I know in leaving my situation. I know what a marriage looks like unraveling, right? Like I can give you that kind of advice. Got a similar situation going on with a friend right now, and the rose-colored glasses are ridiculous. Like oh, he didn't mean it that way, or he didn't, you know, and I just kind of sit there like it's a trigger for me from a personal place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To be able to say, you know what, it's okay if you don't want to talk to me, or, you know, lie to me, don't lie to yourself. Here's a resource. I got a girlfriend that does this. So tell us what resources you offer. And if you feel comfortable, you can tell us your situation. I've definitely shared my history and my recovery.
Right.
And as a mom of a young daughter, I want her to know, right, it's really not about the knockdown. It's about to get back up. There are plenty of situations in life that can take you out. There are plenty of situations where people decided to stay out, right? You opt for alcohol or drugs or some other resource that numbs you instead of actually dealing with it, trying to heal from it. And let's be honest, to find out how we got ourselves in that situation to begin with, whether we were groomed to be in that situation, whether, you know, the guy is just a con and he saw you coming because you got good heart on your forehead. You know, it's just, it's so many different avenues and ways to get ourselves in these relationships that are so abusive and not what God intended for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, if anything, God has not given us a spirit of fear.
Right.
You know, and I can only tell you, I spent the whole majority of the relationship in fear of something, you know. Am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to say the wrong thing? Whatever I say, he thinks I'm lying. So how do I, you know what I mean? It's just, God did not design us to live
it's
like that.
perpetual walking on eggshells. And then when you finally get to a place where you realize, do you know it ain't what you say or what you don't say? Whatever you said was gonna be wrong, right? Yes. It's always gonna be you. You always gonna be right. Like when you finally get to like, oh, like
I'll tell you honestly. So for me, and then even in leaving, mm-hmm. right? I left and was still afraid. Like I was afraid to tell the story. Mm-hmm. I was afraid that I was gonna be shamed. I was gonna be afraid that I was gonna be judged. I was afraid of what's gonna happen to him if mm-hmm. I say, mm-hmm. you know, goodbye. I spent all that time scared of everything. I'll be doggone if I go to freedom and still be scared.
So Walk, how did you meet him? Because you know, it is not. Here's the thing. Everybody always says something like, well, did you see this beforehand or whatever? If it was that open and obvious, right? It's a little bit smoother, but there are red flags that we know now are red flags that we didn't necessarily know were red flags at the time. But it ain't like they come up in a wife beater with a 40 bottle, like, hey, can I have your number? And you be like, right. Yes, you look like right. the greatest person for me. Like, that's not what we did.
Right. No, it's not. And so here's the thing. I know we on the time frame, so I'll try to condense. If I get to rambling,
we're here, babe. We're here.
Give me a. but so this man I met in college, and I fell face first back then, 1998. Right, it was the muscles, it was the voice, it was the whole thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were in college, you know, and so. I guess you could, in college terms, we dated, right? It was a very fast fling, but for me, it was just something about him. He was it for me. And so he wasn't worth a doggone then, right? And so it ended, broke my heart. Can't even explain why. I don't know if we ever went on a real date for real. But it came and it went. And in 2015, girl, doggone Facebook, right? So so now that being said, let me interject because I want to, one thing that I've learned in my therapy and my healing journey is you still got to be responsible for your actions.
Yes.
Right. And so you can't just be the whole victim because right. You've grown, right? So I had to figure out, like you said, well, how did I get there? I wasn't raised in it. I didn't see it. I'm intelligent. I'm dope. I got my own money. Right. You know, and
then you be like, so what's his problem? Right.
Right. So then there's the ego thing that starts to happen.
Yeah.
And so, but for me in particular, I was in a place to where I had left nursing and I was trying to pursue entrepreneurship because I'm a terrible employee, right? I still am. I won't work for nobody. Mm-hmm. And so I had quit my job, but I was like at the end of my savings.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was at the end of my savings. I had gained a bunch of weight. I was in California away from all of my family.
Yes, it's the perfect storm.
I was just in a place, right? And so in comes this dude
on Facebook.
Right? Who I was already
Mark Zuckerberg.
Right. And so the way he presented himself was, the savior to everything that I had going wrong.
Absolutely.
Right? A self-proclaimed successful entrepreneur, right? Very knowledgeable about the fitness industry. Just and everything that I kind of voiced that I needed or wanted, he was able
pretended to be. Yes.
And then as a woman, when a man be like, I got you, and then you see that I got you, you be like, oh, okay. So,
and then we never go, now what does he want from me since he got me? You just be like, oh, isn't he so nice?
Right. And so, in our, in our communication, it was, he had been a youth pastor and, all these accolades
He
that
checked the boxes. I feel you.
whew, he did.
He
And
checked the
I was
boxes.
just so wanting somebody to check the boxes.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just take some of the boxes off. We ain't got to worry about them. Oh, these are good. And
You got
so,
3 of them. Okay, bet. Take
right.
it.
And so at that time I was what, 38 or 39 or something, single, no kids. Like I was just in a place like,
Yeah.
Lord, don't you come get your girl, like sister needs some help down here. So I thought that was the help. And so, it was okay for a minute.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't.
Right.
So were all the red flags there? Yeah, of course they were there, but I ain't seen none of them.
No, we don't see them. And then when the switch flips, you be like, wait, like all of a sudden, do you realize too, when it's bad, you spend a lot of time trying to make it get back to the way it was because you think there's something you can do or somewhere you can convince him to be who he was in the beginning. Like we don't even realize that who he was in the beginning was the game the whole time. Like he was never that person. He was gaming you, right? Like.
But I remember I remember telling my cousin some stuff. She like, T, that's game. I'm like, no, it's not. She like, okay.
Right.
And that was even before anything, she was just like, here, you like good heart, East Mount Zion girl. I'm over here like everybody's fine, nobody's gonna hurt anybody, nobody's gonna lie. I don't lie, so you don't lie.
Good in everybody instead of seeing like my one friend said, no, Stephanie, everybody is on a spectrum. Like some people do have good in them, but they choose to do wrong. So you can't think, oh, he's really a good heart in there. Like she's right. That's not how we were raised at all.
No. And so I just
thank you, East Mount Zion. We love you, but no, that's not how we were raised.
Yeah, so I fell for it. I was looking for something. He provided what I was looking for. And then it flipped. And I honestly, I kind of remember the first time he actually put his hands on me. And I like the story is too long to even tell it, but it was just like he was so upset and like he was just so convinced that I was lying about. I worked night shift as a nurse, and I thought he was gone. Mm-hmm. So I continued to work as opposed to when I think he's there. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm out. I don't care what's done. I don't care who done failed. I don't care who's coding. I'm off at 7:30 a.m.
Yeah.
He waiting on me, so I gotta go.
Yeah.
And so I thought he was gone. So I stayed, I finished up my work. And so he like, so where you at? I'm like, well, where are you at? So when I got home, that was the beginning of the end, because of who he, people can only understand you from their experience.
Yes.
Unless they choose to look at a different perspective.
And a lot of how people treat you is based on what they got going on, not what you got going on at all.
Exactly. So he's accusing me of, where did you go? What did you do? And I'm like, dude, you do realize I'm a nurse and things happen. Like,
right.
I'm subpar at work sometimes because I'm trying to make sure that I don't give you a reason to question me. Mm-hmm. And so he was so upset, right? And he like, oh my God, I can't believe you doing this to me. I can't believe. And I'm like, no, baby, no, that's not it.
Right.
Like,
doing what?
I'm like, just talk to me. Just talk to me. And I think the mistake that I made, if I may, I'll lose that very liberally. Don't hold me to I made a mistake. But my point that I'm making is, sometimes when people get upset, you got to leave them alone.
Yeah.
Right. And so I didn't, and I'll never know because it was in him. I ain't the first woman he hit. Right. That I didn't know.
Like
I knew that going in.
What we know coming out is if there's anything for us to assess is our behavior. So the minute you start accusing me and I'm defending myself, that's the mistake for me. Why do I owe you? I told you I was at work. Like if you think I'm a liar or untrustworthy, like I'm never going to run behind in a relationship to prove myself trustworthy when I ain't done nothing. Like that's a slippery slope and a pushing a big rock uphill. I did it too. Like
I
Because
was
you
gonna
don't
say, but
see
when
it.
you
You
in
just
it,
see it like, oh, you being silly or you making a mistake. You
yeah,
don't see it being this is the first test of your boundaries that they are pushing over to see how far you will let them take it.
I failed miserably,
I
right?
did
Because
too.
all I could see was he upset.
Oh,
And
right.
and I know I didn't do
Baby,
anything.
don't you know I would never cheat on you? You the man and then you got to do all of
Right.
that. But then you really be sitting there like, but I'm still at work. Like, why am I
And I
apologizing? I
gotta go
haven't
back
done
to work.
anything.
And I gotta go back to work.
And it's such
Yeah.
an amazing thing because you start right there and you do that and they know they have you to do that. So the next time you'll do the same thing. And the next time you might leave work, right? So you can take a screenshot of your job. Or I had a guy ask me, let me see your phone so I can put something in there to show me when you read my messages. And he laughed after the fact. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, and I laughed because I was like, you must be joking. And I can't tell you how many times after that, I was like, he wasn't joking. He wasn't. Like, that was, no, because who would joke like that? Like, what do you think that I'm, but then I started to think, what are you doing? Right? That you need to keep tabs on me that tough.
Well, and and that was always like, that's always where I landed. Like the things that you accuse me of are things that I would never even think of
Right.
doing, let
Never.
alone do.
Not in
So
my
what is wrong
DNA,
with
not in my
you?
personality. I ain't never gave it to you like I was a hot girl. So why all of a sudden you act
Right.
like I'm in the streets? Like, I don't
Oh
get it.
my goodness. And and so for him
It's
it
game,
was
that's why.
right. But for him it was like, well, I don't know, we were disconnected for however many years. I don't know what you was doing. And I'm like, you know what I wasn't doing.
Right,
Like
right.
anybody who
You
know
like
me
you like wait, do know what I was doing. You know me, so yes, you do.
right. I listen. So, so that was kind of how it started. And of course, you know, I didn't know about narcissists. I didn't know about gaslighting.
Me either.
It's funny because no matter who you are in an abusive relationship, the relationship looks the same,
Yeah.
right? There are certain patterns that an abusive relationship will follow.
Yes.
And anybody on the outside of that relationship can see it. They can point it out. They can know exactly where you are in that relationship.
Yeah.
But you
cannot see it.
you boo-boo the food.
No, you can't.
And so
But it's sort of the veil over your eyes for a little bit is sort of intentional because they know the minute you get the reality, that's why you can't be around your friends too often because they're gonna tell you what it is that they see
right.
different. And no, don't go out with them. They never wanted you to have a man, or right? And then you're like, they've been my friends since I was like 6. Like all of a sudden they hating on me and you the savior, like all of the shenanigans.
Oh, girl, I mean, talking about to the point to where he like, you can't trust them, as soon as you turn your back. So now I'm looking at my girls that I've known since I was 6, like,
right.
you know what
You
I mean?
want my man, you hate my relationship, you're not really right.
It was just ridiculous. And so if it wasn't, if it wasn't now I don't trust my girls, if it wasn't, I'm here to be with you and you want to run in the streets, it was, even if I do go, the accusations when I get back are going to be something I don't want to deal with.
And now the thing is, especially with this first time you see when it starts to happen, because it's a cycle, like, and then it'll be flowers or a nice dress or dinner or something sweet, and you're thinking, okay, we getting back to the beginning. He's not gonna do it again, and this is the re-up. I'm checking your boundaries to see how far I can get to basically kicking your teeth in, but it's something about this initial veil over our eyes because we never see it as well as like we see it now.
Yeah.
We never see, but the end result and the beginning of it is always, regardless of whether or not you don't trust your girls, regardless of whether or not you feel like you got to punch a clock, it take you 15 minutes to get home, you better be home in 14 minutes and 59 seconds, regardless of any of that. What it does now is you don't trust you. You don't trust how you view the scenario. You don't trust that you can tell him, well, you said this, or your tone was this, or this, none of that. Because then he'd be like, I didn't say that. That's you. You being emotional. You all of these ways to chip away at your girl. And then you
see, but this is exactly my point, Steph. Like, you can tell me what I'm thinking and I can tell you what you're thinking. So why is it an epidemic? Why is abuse in a relationship an epidemic? And it's now started as young as like 12.
Yeah, it's very
you know
young.
what I mean?
Like,
so that's where Gracefully Broken comes
in, right? Like
yeah.
I remember Well, and I can say so a little bit. My mom was in an abusive relationship when I was in high school. Um, and I remember the guy she was dating, I did not like him, and I didn't have a why, right? He hadn't done anything yet. I didn't like his energy, I didn't like his vibe. Um, he was off, and I didn't know why. And ultimately, he pushed my mom down a flight of stairs. And I remember because I had to call 911, and I still remember to this day, I was so nervous, I dialed 991. And
I
so
get
I
it.
say
I
to
get it.
myself,
I
think of
get
that.
it.
Like, so I've known that situation, I've seen it. How do I end up, right? Because
Yeah.
I read energy, I read people pretty good. You know, even as a lawyer, my job requires me to cut through the BS. How did I
Right.
get caught up? And I say the same thing. And I remember I was so spun out because it was, well, that's not what happened. No, that is what happened. And I would have to sit to my somewhere to myself, like, I'm not crazy. I know what just happened yesterday, right? I'm
Yeah.
still managing a caseload. I still, I'm volunteering, and I got everything else in order, but I can't remember when you told me we were supposed to go to dinner or something. No, you don't remember because you don't care about what I want you to do. That's why you didn't write it down. And I'm sitting like, so you do everything you can. Well, here's a calendar. We're gonna work on it together. I used to write myself notes, post-its, and stick them up so I could read. Remember, like, this is what happened yesterday. And I can't tell you how crazy I felt. I have to have a post-it to tell me you did not yell at him yesterday. You didn't write. I'm checking off the things that I know that I did not do. And I'm thinking part of me was doing that. I'm a Taurus too. Part of me was doing that because we analyze a scenario, and then once we make a decision, we set,
We're
right?
good.
So I'm
Yep.
checking myself to make sure I really have not. Do I need
Yeah.
medication? Am I nuts? Is this guy
Yeah.
really, is he telling the
Yeah.
truth and I'm the liar, or what's really happening? Girl, by the time I finished checking, we got to the place where he started putting his hands on me, and I was like, okay. Everything in me, I didn't need to read a book, I didn't need to tell my mama, my dad. Everything in me said, the next time we get in an argument, we start with the hitting now. We start here. Like, you're not gonna let me amp up, you ain't gonna let me yell, you ain't gonna let me explain, you're gonna hit me and I'm gonna go somewhere and shut up, right? I said no. Like, I knew, and I was scared. I was pregnant. I was
Mm.
scared to death, but I knew, because who's next? Who gonna see me get hit?
Yeah.
How I'm gonna tell her, don't ever let a man treat you like this, talk to you like this, and then I'm gonna stay. I said, she gonna do what I do and not what I say, right? Now I got to be all like Harriet Tubman and figure out how to sneak out. But my original fear, people gonna think I'm so stupid. People gonna think I'm so stupid, and I'm gonna tell them, and they're not gonna believe me because he presents like a nice man. They're not gonna believe me. And there were some people, like, he tried to give his version too, and they were like, but that doesn't sound like her.
Don't
And so
sound
they
like her.
reached out to me, and I
Yeah.
started to realize eventually everybody sees the truth. So it's not my job to explain him to anybody. I just know I gotta go, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the dismantling of your self-esteem, of your ability to trust your instincts and your gut about a thing after you leave an abusive relationship, boy, if that don't take some work, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you don't know who in your ear for whatever reason at this point.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend's been there the whole time, and you still looking at them like, wait a minute, because if
Yep.
you saw it different, why didn't you say nothing?
Yep.
Right? Like, everybody becomes, you push them all off
Suspect.
because you don't know
Yep.
who you can trust. So I
Yeah.
know in part of your journey, because you and I had a conversation early on about when my stuff was going left. Me and Tamia have been friends for a long time, folks.
Long time.
We had a conversation when my stuff was going left, and I was scared, like, because we were not taught to have boundaries either. Like, when you say, why is it becoming an epidemic? That's why, because Black women ain't taught we get to be vulnerable. Everybody can be in your space, and you are required to be superwoman, savior, mother, wife, serve at the church, volunteer at the soup kitchen. And nobody said you get a mental health day, or, right? Like, you used to
A
be
mental health day. First of all, the people who raised us don't believe in mental
ever.
health
Why is
days.
therapy so, like, you go to therapy, you must be crazy? And I'm
You
like,
must
no,
be
you
crazy.
must
You
be,
got a
because you
mental health
don't.
condition. I'm like, no, no, I don't have a condition. I'm not bipolar. I'm not schizophrenic. I just fell for the wrong one.
Yeah.
And because the wrong one was the right one to jack my head up, now I got to talk through some stuff. But this is what trips me out about us Christians, right? The Bible says seek wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that when I go seek wise counsel, oh, if you must not be righteous, you must not be living right.
So, like, for me too, part of it, like you said, God didn't give us the spirit of fear. A lot of that is fear. The minute, and I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna not be a popular opinion or whatever, but my mom has always had a problem with organized religion because she always said it was put in place to keep women subservient and submissive. And I understand what she means. Like having faith is one thing, but being a part of a church or a religious organization that's going, women are to be seen and not heard and just have a whole bunch of babies and never have any aspirations of your own, knock it off. But, and I remember specifically when I was in marriage counseling, the marriage counselor said something to the effect of, the man was the head of the household and all of that. And I was like, I'm not giving him no trouble. I ain't say nothing about who the head of the household was or wasn't, right? But I specifically said, if my soul, if God can save my soul and God can save his soul, right? So he goes and does something wrong and God says, well, why did you do it? I can't say because he did it, right? Because I still have a soul, right? Oh yeah, that means I still have value. I still have purpose. I still have a say. And no matter how submissive and subservient I am in my marriage and my relationship, God still has work to do on Stephanie. That means I have to be responsible for my choices as well. So I'm not going to follow a fool just because you say he in either head and he in charge or whatever. So a part of you seeking wise counsel is unpopular because we don't want you getting thoughts and opinions that come from a different religious organization. Like that's the best way to say it. If I'm in charge and I'm running it and I'm giving you what you need to grow to be or what you need to go to therapy for. Now you get with a righteous pastor and a good church or whatever, you get it a little bit different. Because I've got plenty of folks who talk about church hurt and how they grew up in church being groomed to basically like be the pastor's concubine. Like, so, we ain't had no mess like that, but we didn't do a very good job early on in teaching our girls and our women that you are more in life than a wife and a mother, right? Like, right. Like, and in all honesty, that's what we didn't get in our Baptist upbringing. We were very much, we love you, we support you, and we want you to do great things, but it was all under the guise of eventually you're going to be somebody's wife, right? And you never told us it was okay if we're not. Like, what if I don't get my Boaz, right? What if y'all ain't making Boaz is no more? Like, we don't even talk about how raggedy our men folks are to choose from. That's not our fault. But we knew early on that while you had the young Davids and the junior women or whatever, that like some of our options were a little janky, and you never then it becomes our fault when oh, you can't find a husband or your marriage didn't last. You that's on you. You supposed to make that. And I'm like, you gave me 2% of a man, and I'm supposed to mold that into something, and I don't know what to do.
Right. Meanwhile, over here, when it comes to me, we got all of this together. So like
you said, he checked the boxes. He prayed with me. He go to church with me. We do all types of, and then, but then on the back end, he trying to hurt me. And it's something wrong with a thought process that says it's better for you to just have a relationship than for you to be a whole person by yourself. And we don't nurture that. We've never had that as Black women, real talk. We don't nurture that at all. We don't nurture how to own yourself in your single space, how you supposed to be preparing. Like my grandpa used to say, like, what if you never get married? You'd be like, oh my gosh, what? That's what everybody wants. And he like, no, I don't mean it like that. Like, I ain't saying you're not worthy, right, of a healthy marriage. What I'm saying is the men folk we producing out here for your potential is kind of in the dumpster.
I remember when I was 21, and my stepfather said, well, you done got to be an old maid. I was like, what that even mean?
Old maid at 21. That reminds me, sitting in church, one of them ladies was like, well, y'all not married, y'all lesbian bears? And we were like, what?
No.
So now we can't even like guys no more.
Heaven forbid we go to dinner or something. You can
oh my gosh. They I don't know. It's a part of that mentality still exists. The whole idea of therapy and needing help outside of just praying. The realization that there's mental illness in 1 out of 5 people. And that's before we even talk about like men that are abusive. I'm not necessarily putting them in that category. So, because there are other reasons and issues as to how they got to be who they are, right? And I am at least able to be in a space, and I'm spinning it for a reason, because I was very hateful against that person for a very long time, but I'm spinning it to at least say, you know, God still has a purpose for you too. Whether or not your heart is hardened and you don't want to accept that purpose is not my responsibility, but that's still a person in there with a soul who God can work on. But we don't do a good job of, you can go to church and you can pray and you can thank God for where you are, but I have a chemical imbalance, or I suffered trauma as a child, or I didn't, and I'm just, you know, I'm the 4 out of 5 that is not mentally ill, and I'm dealing with a mentally ill person, whether it's, you know, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
so talk through when you knew, like when you knew this was bad. Not when it like it's not getting better, because we stay for a phase where we think we're gonna get it back to the beginning and it don't.
Well, and so there's that stuff, and then there's this other piece, and I think I said it out loud. I'm not sure, but there's another factor. Yeah, we're trying to get it back to the way it was, but there's also this piece of an ego that I personally had. Right? I asked for this. I know I'm dope. I know I could be whatever anybody needs. So it has to be something that I can do to make him see how good I am. Right? There's no way I'm gonna lose. There's no way I can't make this right. So for me, I did spend a phase in that space too.
Yeah.
I would have to kind of redo some stuff to figure out how long I was in that space.
Yeah.
But
and losing you the whole time, thinking you gonna prove you to win, and you losing you the whole time.
Trying to prove who I am. I completely forgot who I was.
Yes, ma'am. Because that's what we do. We've been like, look, we will bend over backwards.
Contortionist.
Like the idea is not to break, but we will bend and try to make it work. We will try to make it work. So it's got to be a long, long haul before you decide, no, like, or life or death.
So I told you earlier that my stepfather had a stroke. And he became bedridden. My mom was taking care of him. He was in and out of nursing homes, hospitals. And I was in a space where I was like, I know she needs me. I know he needs me. But one of the comments was, you can't not take care of your house to me.
Right.
Now, mind you, my house was my house. My car was an apartment, but it was mine. Like, it was all mine, right? But you're in it. You're in my space, contributing nothing financially.
Ashes,
right?
Contributing ashes.
You're dirtying up my daggone with your big feet. But anyway, so I had started to feel like everything was a tug of war, right? I hated going to work because I'm gonna be accused of something.
Yeah.
Then I come home and I got explained that I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then I have my mom who was looking at me like, you really not gonna help me? And I'm looking at my stepdad who I'm like, I don't know what he knows at this point, but I just literally was breaking everywhere. And there was no reprieve, right? I couldn't go to work to get away from home because work had turned toxic because of home.
Yeah.
Right. I was, like you said, I was just spinning. And I had gotten to a place where I was numb. Right. And I was just like, I don't know how to fix this. I do know how to fix this, but I don't want to fix it that way. Right. Right. So I'm just like, I don't know. But around the time of my birthday, March 2020, my birthday is March 2nd. My stepfather went into the hospital on March 1st. And, we had this kind of a week thing planned. We wanted to go out of town. We couldn't because of my stepdad. But he went into the hospital the day before. So we went in, I went to see him the day of my birthday. I went to see him and then we went out. I think the next day we went out and I didn't call my mom because I didn't want her to say where you at, because I wanted to feel like I could celebrate my birthday.
Yep.
Again, just a tug of war, like trying to please everybody
and pleasing nobody, and you not happy either. Yep.
Exactly. And you in the ground, ran yourself crazy. And so
I'm about to cry because I know exactly what this feels like.
And so I remember, like, we were at dinner, my mom had called, and like I called her on the way there. She didn't answer. Somewhere in dinner, she called. I took my phone out to take a picture of the food.
Yeah.
And at that point I saw she called, but I wasn't paying any attention. And then I didn't call her back. I just didn't want to answer no questions, right? I just wanted a minute to, I don't know, think I was happy, right? And he asked me, did I talk to my mom? No, he asked me, did I talk to my mom? And I, like, in my head, I was processing why I had not talked to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
In his head, I was lying.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever was coming out of my mouth was going to be a lie,
Mm-hmm.
right? And on our way home from that dinner, I was, just reading the signs of the places around where the restaurant was.
Mm-hmm.
It was an area I wasn't familiar with. And it was a place called Rib Cage Steakhouse or Smokehouse. So I said it out loud, Rib Cage Smokehouse. And he was like, trying to do something nice for your Black, and here you go, and you want to just hang with the girls. And I was so like, what
Where
just
are
happened?
you?
Like, and I, like, literally, that's how things changed. And I'm still trying to process, like, where do you even get this stuff from? And he on 1,000 already,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I knew that was brewing with him. So when he asked about my mom, I'm processing why I didn't talk to her. So now he's questioning me about when did she call and when did I see that she called, and I'm like, I didn't see she called until after we left. And he was like, well, if you took your phone out to take the picture, then you had to. I'm like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, sir.
Right.
The point is,
Right.
I didn't take the phone call when she called. Now that's it. That's all. And I didn't want to answer no questions. Well, you need to woman up, and you need to be able to say what you want and what you don't want, and you need to be able to. And so it just on and on and on. So the next morning, my mom had texted me. It was a procedure that they wanted to do for my stepdad. And I could tell by her text, she didn't really have the right information. Like, she needs me.
Yeah.
And so I got up early and I was like, I'm about to go to, the hospital. I started cooking. And he was like, you messed up the environment. You messed up the vibe. And Stephanie, he went off. Like he was a big dude. So when it got physical, it would be more of him like pushing on me or like backing me up against something just in my face, growling and snarling. And you could see, like, you can see
hatred, because that's what
we
it
are
looks
many.
like. You can see it. It's like black ink that flow right under their skin, right under the surface of their skin, and it come out of nowhere. And when you see it, it's just evil.
Listen, I start speaking in tongue one day, like, you shall flee.
Man,
because you can see it.
The
like
backing up, the standing over you while you sitting down, like all of these extra, or getting in the car and this dude would be driving 95, 100 miles an hour to get somewhere. Yeah. All of that, like, because you got to be in control and be bullying and.
Yeah, it was insane. So this was the first time, like, and then for me, and I think there was one time I fought back, but I was always afraid that he would forget I was a girl.
Yeah.
Because obviously I can, I ain't no chump for real, but I didn't want to dar him like, oh, so that's
right,
how
and make him like punch you in the face.
Right. So I would always just more lean towards, babe, stop, calm down, would you just listen? Now, there was a lot of defense, right? To this day, my shoulder's jacked up. Like, my range of motion is not there because I was always leading with the right ear, right? And so on this particular day, he went nuts. And literally, he threw me all around the room. And it got to a point where he was on top of me, like just straight ground and pound. And I was able to deflect a lot of it, but he hit me and he busted my lip. And I'm like, I'm about to show up at the hospital with a busted lip.
Right.
My mother is going to absolutely flip.
Right.
Now, this wasn't the first time we got physical, but because I'm grown, I could stay away for long enough, right?
Yeah. Well, you say stay away. I say hide.
Hide. Well, same thing. Yeah. But So I ended up going to the hospital and I called him when I got there and I was like, yo, I can't do this. You got to leave. And he like, if you just come back, babe, I promise I won't touch you. I'll blah, 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 blah. And so now I'm in the hospital, supposed to be there for my mother. And I'm still over here on the phone with this guy.
Right.
And so that was like around March 4th-ish. Something else happened. In my head, I remember the date, March 9th. Something happened then, I don't remember. But you asked me, like, how did I know?
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to a place to where I told him that I had posted something on Facebook, and he was like, no, you didn't. And I was like, yes, I did. Well, what happened was, Facebook says finishing up,
Yeah.
right? So the video that I posted 2 hours ago finished up once I looked to see why is he telling me that I didn't post it, right? Well, there it went again, right? So he's flipping out, you such a liar, you this, you that, and he's hitting again, like literally, like now he's hitting, and I'm trying to move around, and I think the
Over a
only
Facebook
thing that
video.
stopped him, huh?
Over a Facebook video.
Yeah,
Right.
but at this point, he
Because you
thinks
got to
I'm
be
a habitual
lying.
liar.
Right. I
Right.
get it. I get it. It ain't
Right.
never him, it's you.
Yeah. So then we go from that to, you want to know all the people that I've been with, all the people that I've slept with, all the people that, and I'm stupid. I'm over here telling them about people from when I was 14 years old, right? And like you said, we EMZ girls. I ain't never been no hoe.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I've said something about whoever I was talking about, and he just hauled off and slapped me. And I was like, like, now this is stupid.
Right.
I can't even explain why I'm in trouble at this point.
Right.
And so I was like, God, I need you to help me. Let me just say, I'm so grateful that I could laugh about this, because Lord knows it's not funny.
I mean, we do our work so we can at least get back. And the good thing about the us now, because if you look back on who you were then, like, she was laughable. Not only did we not own our space, we didn't honor who we thought we knew we were, because we didn't know who we were. And I think, like, a lot of things that we don't share, like the situations of abuse, are not funny. So I know that's not what you're laughing at, but it gets so crazy in your head. You'd be like, how did I get here? I said that. I had a whole, oh my gosh, we'll talk after this. I had a whole event in December, and I was like, how do I get myself in this situation? So I don't understand.
But then, but here's the thing, if it happens to you, if it happened to you, I'm Peter cutting ears off.
Like,
he did what? I'm on the way. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like, how did anyway, so at that point I was, and he had started to say, like, you've already lost me, you lied, you a hoe, you this, you that, so nothing you say can make up for anything you've done. But if he said, your actions cost you me, you lie again, it's gonna be your life.
Oh wow.
Right. So he had asked me a question. Now, bring all of this back together for a circle. We have talked about narcissists, we've talked about gaslighting, we've talked about how they make you think you crazy. And I know for sure I talked to you at 4:52 on January 13th, but he will convince me that I ain't seen you in 10 years, right? And so he asked me a question, and he was dead set that he knew the answer. And Tamia, I know the answer, so just tell the truth. Stephanie, I had no idea what he was talking about. Well, now I know he wasn't talking about nothing. There was something he had made up in his head that was his truth, and here we go. I get it now. I have a clue then. I was, again, just trying to prove my innocence, because how could you think so poorly of me?
And if you think so poorly of me, why do you want me? I remember asking,
that part.
If I'm all of this, then why do you want me? Like,
and you don't. And why is it that I know that you
don't even like women? Like, that's the one part we don't even acknowledge. You don't even like women for real. If you knew what we were and what we were for and what we could bring to your life, the value that we actually added to you, you wouldn't act like this.
You wouldn't. There's no way you can tell me that you don't hate women.
You don't like
this. But so at that point, I said, God, I need you to get me out. And at this point, now we're in a pandemic, right? I'm getting called off of work. So now I'm at home, and we're in this tight space together, nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, if you show me how to get out of this, I promise you, I'll get out, I'll leave. Whatever you got, whatever escape route you give me, I'll take it. I promise you. And so he said, I'm gonna give you 24 hours to come clean. So the next night we're laying in bed, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he like, so you got anything you want to tell me? And I'm like, nope, I really don't. And what I told him, I just made up something. Like I told him something that was true, but definitely not what he was expecting me to say. So then now that's a whole nother problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so he like, you what? You know, I know him. And I'm like, no, I don't know. Oh my God, what are we even doing here? Like, here we go again. And so he reached to hit me, but at this point, he's on one side of my king size bed and I'm on the other. Right. And so as he's like trying to hit me, I'm like, girl, he can't get you if you move. So Stephanie, butt naked, I ran out the room, grabbed my keys, and left.
Yep.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Through the apartment complex, down the stairs, through the garage, jumped in the car, driving down Detroit Avenue, butt naked, because I asked God to get me out. I didn't tell him any stipulations. I said, I'll go.
The moment of clarity comes when it comes. I remember saying, if you get help, we'll figure out how to work this out. And he said, if it's a problem, it's your problem. And that was my moment, because I said, well, I got a problem. And I remember I told my mom, I said, I'm just gonna sit him down and tell him I'm gonna leave him. And she was like, you can't look a grown man in the face and say you about to leave. So now I'm scared. Right now I'm like, wait, what? I can't. Like,
no.
And my cousin was like, get you a suitcase and start squirreling stuff away. I was a big belly pregnant. I left with 5 maternity dresses, a skillet, 2 plates, a fork and a knife, and the shoes on my feet.
Yeah.
I had pets and I had to sneak back and get them when he went home. I left them too.
Yeah, I get it. I when I tell you I had my keys, but mind you, my apartment, I left him in my apartment.
I don't care. As long as you're not there when I get back. Like,
and I didn't know where I was going.
Yeah.
I ended up pulling over to a McDonald's and had a trench coat in the trunk and some work shoes in the back seat. Showed up at my son's house at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. In the pandemic, I was so scared. I was like, I don't want to intrude, because everybody's supposed to be quarantining at this point.
Yeah.
You know, there's only certain places you can show up naked with nothing. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a debit card. I didn't have nothing. And she was so gracious. You know, and at this point, everybody is like, yes.
And I was getting ready to say, you said gracious. I'm guessing she was happy to see you on her doorstep, because she already knew, girl, come in, and thank God you done finally got it to leave. Like, that whole, it's like a tsunami of fear that comes when you know that you got to go.
Yeah.
Because the idea, I knew I wasn't gonna lose my life for no food, but the idea that you think so little of me, and then it finally hit me. If you think so little of me, then why am I working trying to make you love me? Why am I spending my good energy? And I know what love is. I know how it feels. I know this ain't what it feels like. I was never the girl that was scared to be by herself, right? Like, how do I end up with this person and you don't even like me, but you gonna beat me to stay? You don't even like me.
You don't even like me. You clearly don't like me.
Like,
yeah.
And so then that journey, like for Gracefully Broken, that journey to learn how to heal and to provide resources, because we really do have to learn how to think differently about ourselves. There's a lot of healing after this, but there's a lot of work to go back for me to say, right, what did I overlook and why? Because I had at least a similar kind of like gaslighting, emotional abuse kind of situation later. And I knew early on, right? Oh no, I know what this is, right? Like, I know where this goes. And I remember, because you said it, I was scared to order food for this man, because if it was wrong, I knew where that went, but I didn't make it, right? Like you said, in the middle of a pandemic, I'm calling in an order.
Yeah.
Wait, does that come with pork? I don't know. Is that what you regularly, like, when I'm supposed to Google, right? Like, I don't, what is happening? If I'm making an order at Chipotle, I ain't digging out their recipes to see what the ingredients was on. Why wouldn't you get what you regularly order? But now I'm in charge of like pork distribution in your food. Like I'm not,
But you know what? You said something that is so crucial. Like there and it, like so gracefully broken is in my head is huge, right? I'm way down here trying to bring it up to something, but the things that I see as a necessity
Mhm.
for this industry is amazing. But one of the things that I would love to do is have that conversation about dating after abuse,
Yes.
right? Because like you said, now everybody got a 20-foot
Oh
pole,
yeah. I look at everybody different.
everybody.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I learned, and I look, I hope I can thank God for this, but like, because I'm still like,
You learning.
but because everything was an issue, right?
Yeah.
What's in the Chipotle? Who are you talking, bro? I remember one time, the Apple TV,
Mhm.
you can talk on the
Mhm.
remote. So it was like midnight, and I'm talking to Siri, like, find the Clippers game. Girl, he came from out of nowhere. Who are you talking
Who
to? I'm
you
like,
talking to?
Siri. Like, and if I wasn't, why is it what is wrong with you?
And what
know?
is like I went through, I had my one of my girlfriends was married. She stayed in her abusive relationship for quite a while. And we were super young. But we talk about the idea that you don't know how to teach them to love you better. And that's what we spend a lot of time there. Like, don't you know I really do love you? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like what, like I can Tina Turner, right? Like, I'm not gonna leave you because you act up. So stop acting up. Like you trying to teach them. And then you finally get to a point like, why is teaching you how to love breaking me, like
Yeah,
mentally,
killing
physically?
me.
And I still remember this conversation because I was so on the fence, I married this man, in front of God and family, and it like,
Yeah,
how am I gonna leave, And I remember I talked to Pastor Bowie and I was like, but it says till death do you part. And he was like, what about the death of your spirit? What about the death of your mind? What about the
yeah.
death of hope?
You
What about
already
the death?
did.
He just kept going. And I was like, okay, I can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, because you never think of it that way. But like, how dare we put ourselves in situations that threaten our very life? Like who you are, what God brought you here to be gets prevented because you have
Yeah.
fallen prey to a person who has no idea how to love you,
How to love anybody.
let alone themselves, right?
Themselves.
Like
Yeah.
we gonna leave
Yeah.
their healing on. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's
Maybe I
that
should
got
have
nothing to do
one.
with me.
I should have
Yeah.
one. I should have one with a guy who hits women. I should, and see what they have to say. But
I got a number for you.
like, we got a long list to choose from while you playing. But the idea that we as Black women end up being the bottom of the totem pole in terms of empathy, in terms of, I mean, because I could tell you how I felt when we went through the court process and all of that. Like it was nothing. If I had blonde hair and blue eyes, I'm sure it would have been different, but it was nothing like your mom hugging you when she realized what it really was and that you left, right? It was nothing like you being able to run naked to your son's house and she got you, right? After we get through the initial phase of people who love us, who care for us, who understand, now we have an entire pool of women who are either in the same situation and didn't leave, or are so young and being groomed for a situation that they don't understand, or who have been in these marriages now for 30, 40 years. So how come you get to be the one to get out? Like it's so many hurt women. It's so much like scar tissue, I call it.
Yeah.
And I hope like eventually your place can be a safe space for like sister talks and just meetings where women can come and share, because even if I'm not going to leave him, even if I'm not going to get myself out of that situation, I still need, support and encouragement, because eventually it'll come to a place where you will leave. I mean, or
Yeah.
y'all gonna kill each other.
I was gonna say you're gonna leave one way or the other.
You will, dead or
One
alive,
way or the other. You
right?
gotta go.
And there's
Yeah.
plenty of my girlfriend's mom, her father was abusive and he died, but she took care of him until he died. And like all you do is sit. He was too sick to hit her anymore, so I guess that was the end of it for her. And
Yeah.
she's a Christian, she goes to church and she prays, and I'm like, this ain't what God like intended
Yeah.
for us to just be beat up and broken and be fodder because somebody felt like you didn't check if this had pork in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing how we allow ourselves to be so belittled and we don't even consider, like, what am I doing? And then
Yeah.
eventually when our moment comes, when we're gone, now you got so much you to build back up.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you said it, and I because we're friends, I'm laughing because I don't know if you know or if you know. But the Gracefully Broken's first event was called Safe Spaces, Courageous
I did it now.
Conversations.
Look, nice segue.
Right. And so what, you know, what we're looking at right now is to open that platform up. That was kind of my platform for me, right? And I believe that there's healing and transparency, right? So every time I tell a piece of my story, I kill the
You
memory of,
do. You do.
right?
You do.
And it reminds me of, you know, I'm a cornball. Remember the movie Hancock?
Yep.
Remember every step he took away from her,
Yep. She got
got
better.
stronger.
Yep.
That's how I feel. Every time I tell a piece of the story, I take a step away from the situation, I get stronger.
And like you said, telling our truth, speaking our truth also, it kind of diminishes the idea that somebody's going to shame you or judge you, because you're saying, I don't care, right? If you believe me, I don't care if you think you would have done it different. Like, I know my truth, and I have to accept responsibility for the situations I put myself in, but I have to honor the woman I'm becoming as well.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm not going to be afraid of what you think I should have done. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
afraid of, right, whoever, somebody believe him over. I don't care about any of that anymore, because at the end of the day, this new phoenix that you are becoming, because and now she's on fire. Like, she was a butterfly before, because that's what got us beat up in the first place, right?
Yeah.
We were a butterfly looking for somebody to shield it. No, she's not a butterfly no more. She's a phoenix, and she's on fire. So I got some heat for you. But that don't mean I don't know how to love. That don't mean I don't value myself. The other thing, though, like you said, you left in the middle of a pandemic. Imagine how many people are stuck in these relationships, can't get out and go to work, and now everybody is remote and all of the rest of that. So you just stuck endlessly in that with no way out. So the idea that it can be a sister circle, it could be virtual, it could be whatever, but the idea that I have an outlet, that I know that there are women who know what I'm going through, who aren't going to judge me, you know, and who can definitely pray, and then also say, hey, here's a therapist, right? Like, not just pray he don't hit you no more. No, because that's not gonna cut it, right? That's your shield. Don't get me wrong, but like,
for sure.
we know we dealing with a human over there as well. So praying for your peace and your safety is one thing, but actually making a move to make it so, and to get some help and some healing, because there's work to determine how we found ourselves in the spaces with these men.
Yeah. And so what Gracefully Broken is focused on in this season is to have those safe spaces geared towards the younger women.
Okay.
So I'm looking at, you know, going into schools, after school groups and that kind of thing. But I want to get back to the basics of you are enough.
Yep.
You're beautiful. Whether you lose weight or you gain weight, it's still the same person on the inside. And if you don't love that person, nobody will.
Right.
So
And losing weight ain't gonna make you love her if you don't love her. Period.
right.
Like, right.
Because it's the same you.
It is.
You got the same brain no matter what size your pants are.
Exactly. You got the same heart.
Same heart, exactly. So
you have the same dreams, you have the same goals, you have the same intentions, whether a number on the scale looks different, you know. And we stay so weight obsessed. We stay so body obsessed. Somebody asked me why I don't draw my eyebrows and put on all them eyelashes. I said, because I love my how I look. Like, what's wrong? Ain't nothing wrong with enhancing how you look. Don't get me wrong.
If you want to.
Like, what about I want to go to sleep and wake up and not have my makeup on my pillow with my eyelashes, my eyebrows, and all that? Like, what's wrong with my face?
I posted this meme a long time ago. It said, I'm old school. I wake up with my eyebrows on.
Right. They already here. Like, and what's wrong with that? I don't want to turn and have it.
Don't look at me, don't
man.
Yeah. So that is my goal. For right now, it's to restore the self-love, to restore the confidence, right?
So for sure, you can send me information. So when we upload this, we can have like dates or times, or, you know, suggested ideas of meeting places, safe space, email, you know, chat room stuff kind of for women. I know plenty of victims of domestic violence. But it's magic. Like I told you when I first started this, part of it was to bring hope to people, because I find that we are all inundated with just the everyday kind of drama. And,
Yeah.
we get caught up in like this mantra, like being an adult sucks, but we have a better responsibility now that we're older. And what my therapist says, now that you've had some life happen to you, when we were out
Right.
there and young and green and nothing happened, we thought we were invincible and we knew everything. Now we know a little bit about a little bit,
A little bit
but
about a little bit. Yeah.
I'm conscious about trying to embody the type of woman that my daughter can look up to, and
Right.
not be like, oh, well, my mom did it, so it must be okay to, get beat up or drive drunk.
That's what love looks like.
It's
Yeah.
right. I can't have that. So while
Yeah.
while we are learning safe spaces, we're learning like positive affirmations, because that's the other thing. I can tell you you're pretty, right? If you don't think you are, it doesn't matter how many times people say it. So
Absolutely.
now I'm conscious of you have courage, you're brave, you're kind, because the way you look on the outside will change over time. And if your opinion of yourself is married to that, you're going to be in trouble later on.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and I need you not to get tricked by the game, because mama did. So let's see what I
Let
can
me
do
school you.
right to get you some meat and potatoes a little bit early on, so you can be like, that's game or that's gaslighting, right? Like,
Yeah. And for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Maybe I am. If so, to me, whatever. But I keep a lot of stuff to myself. And so now that I've had a little bit of life happen to me, it's like, do you keep it to yourself because you don't want the truth? Or are you just afraid of what may not happen? Right.
yeah,
And so I had so many resources that I didn't utilize.
yeah,
And not even just in this situation. Like, I was talking to my cousin, we kind of grew up as brother and sister more than anything. And we went to Ohio State together. And so I was in a relationship in Ohio State. It was nothing like this, nothing toxic. It was just, it was the dude was out there a little bit.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm over here trying to hide him because I don't want my big cousin to embarrass me by checking him, right? So I kind of keep him to the side.
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't realize was my big cousin had already invited him to the house to kick it with the crew. So my big cousin is watching him like, okay. He never said anything to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we broke up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, what if I would have just been like, hey, cuz, what you think about this one? He'd have been like, nah. And then I could have been like, okay.
It's,
But how many times do we not?
Shining the light in the dark spaces, like, it teaches us to, there are things that we push in the dark because we don't want people to judge us for. But I'm also starting to realize in this space that most people's judgment is because they have their own interpretation first of what it is you're doing, but they've either been through it or they putting sugar on doo-doo, like I said earlier, and just trying to, so they got to point out your flaws and your mistakes because you think you all this because you go to Oak State. So let me tell you about it'll be that kind of, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want the snark. I don't want your judgment.
Yeah.
But it makes me mindful of us keeping core key people in our circle instead of a group of haters who gonna feed us the fluff and help us with the sugar when another pile of doodle comes. I don't want the sugar. I want you to tell me, get away from him. He's not good for you, or he looks good on paper, but right. So I can be like, oh, because why are you my friend if we can't do that? Why are you my cousin in my spec, right? And why would I be ashamed of that interaction or that help?
Yeah.
It used to be everybody was looking out for everybody, but now it's like you in my business and all. And I'm taking it back. Like I can understand why you wouldn't want to bring this dude home because he chilling with 3 or 4 other chicks, and maybe you chilling with 3 or 4 other dudes. Like it ain't really all that serious.
Mm-hmm.
But on the same token, I don't want the judgment of me trying to learn my sexuality, my femininity, how to be in a relationship, how to have my ambitions and be working towards my dreams, and also be trying to navigate a relationship space and not want you to tell me your dude is talking to my cousin and 3 other people. Like, so part of it is shame, part of it is fear, but I think I'm at a place where I'm okay if you help me, regardless of what you say about me on the back end, like, because I need the help until I
Well,
don't.
and not only that, I think that's a part of it. I don't care what you say about me on the back end, but I've reached a point to where I'm like, okay, let me stop fooling myself
Yeah,
about that life,
if you get,
right?
so let me stop fooling myself, but that also helps you when you have everybody in your circle ain't got to be,
Yeah,
but you need one that's gonna be like,
yeah.
let me holler at you for a second, and then you can
And
go
you're
be
gonna be
like,
like, okay,
right, and you, because then they tell you, you're gonna be like, yeah, bet you're right, I probably
yeah,
right, like
yeah. You
so
got to be able to receive what they say.
that's just it. Like everybody in your circle does not have to be the hardcore person, but one person that you
Yeah,
trust, that you know is, and you are that person for somebody too in reality. So
absolutely.
the idea, see, the problem gets bigger than that too, because the idea is we think we're keeping it all in a box in the dark where everybody can't see it, and our people can too see it. Even if they
Absolutely.
don't know him or what he doing behind your back on the side, they read you, right? They
Yep.
know when your energy is good. They know when you
Yep.
prayed up. They know when you in a positive space. And if
Yep.
every time he come around, all of a sudden your energy and your vibe change, your people are like, it's him, right?
Yep.
Like we,
All day.
and then this is the one thing that why we keep it in the dark. This is the other thing, because we don't go to men for advice about our men. That's first. We
Right.
never do. You got a cool cousin, a cool guy friend, or whatever. That's never our first stop. You go to your girlfriends, right? And
Who's still just as raggedy as yours?
it's the, oh my gosh. And not only is it just as raggedy, they lying about how not raggedy it is. So you going to them for advice because you thinking they stuff
Yeah.
look good. But then when you
Yeah.
start to have conversations with them, you're like, oh, look at all you've had to put makeup on and you know, try to
Yeah.
cover up, because your stuff ain't really OMG. But we are so afraid to say, this situation isn't working for me. I've been in it for 15 years. It is garbage. I have tried to make it work. Then we get to, I've wasted 15 years of my life. Then you get to, what my people gonna say about, but all of that's us doing that. All of that's us, right? There is no blueprint for your life because you are an individual. God put Tamia here to be Tamia and do Tamia stuff, right? Like, so you busy saying such and such gonna talk bad about me if I do this, or he not gonna think. That ain't, other people's opinions of you are not your business. Like your journey and your walk require a little bit more than, oh, they gonna talk bad about me. No, I do. Everybody got something going on. Every relationship you look at that you think you want to model yours after, you have no idea that they tried to stab each other 20 years ago, but they went to therapy and made up and put right. We don't know that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so you so busy modeling what you think your relationship or life should be on based off somebody else's mirror reflection of some, they're not telling the whole truth either.
Right. Like you trying to base your reality off of their highlight reel.
And then your reality, and then you start to try to build your life after they highlight reel, not realizing it's the highlight reel. And let's be honest, it ain't even a highlight reel. It's made for Facebook. You done cut and paste some stuff for your highlight reel. Like everybody's life is not 100% joy. You will have ups and downs. You will have moments of depression. You will have moments of sadness. You will have moments in your relationship. And this is man or female. Like, so relationships with your spouse, your boyfriend, relationships with your parents, relationships with your siblings. You grow together, you grow apart, you grow back together. Like this is not just, oh, we've been best friends and everything has been just honey and grit since the beginning. Lies. But people feed us that, and then you start to think that life is supposed to be about all the highs and you're never supposed to have any downs or any issues. That's what, so then for us as Black women, when we have trouble, when we have issues, when we have sadness, when we have domestic violence issues, when we have job losses, when we have death in our family, we think something is wrong with us because we have grief and we don't know how to deal. We have emotions other than Superwoman, and we don't know how to deal because we've been taught to be nothing else. You have been programmed to believe you are not entitled to be vulnerable, to have a moment to for yourself, right? Like every part of your DNA has been taught that you have to be assisting someone or providing a service or doing something, uplifting somebody else. And we never, ever, ever turned around and said, when do I get time for me and my space?
Steph, let me tell you, and it's like it's so much to unpack, you know, when you start to process this stuff. But I told you that it was around the time of my stepfather passing. Like it was so goofy because I left in March. My stepfather passed in December that same year. I had COVID, so I had to quarantine from my mom
Yeah.
while she was trying to deal with the death of my dad, my stepdad. And so, it was my situation was still so new to me. The wounds were still so fresh. I'm still bleeding, trying to figure out how to maneuver.
Hmm.
And I remember one time having a conversation, and my mom, like, she wasn't on it. Like, she couldn't stand the dude from the beginning. She, like you said, she knew my energy, she knew my vibe, and she knew it's all that Joker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's him.
Your
And
people
so,
know.
um, when I finally made the decision to leave, when I finally made the decision to take control back of me,
Hmm.
um, I couldn't I couldn't be controlled by anybody, right? Like, and
Same.
nobody gonna tell
Same.
me what
Right.
to do. I
Right.
don't care what your title is.
Right.
I don't want to.
My
I
mom
ain't
would be
going
like,
to
how come can't nobody tell you nothing? And I'd be like, because they can't. Like,
because they can't.
because when you trying to reestablish some boundaries, all y'all get put on the outside. That's why.
Exactly. And I'll take what I need and leave the rest.
Yep.
And so my mom had gotten to a place where she was offended because she's like, I need you. And I had to tell her, like, I can't interrupt my healing to help you with yours because you'll get what you need and I'm going to still be over here bleeding.
Yep.
That's not fair to me. But do you know what it took for me to be able to say that? Because how dare I? It's my mother.
I feel you.
You know what I mean? How dare I tell my mother, like, I know you just lost your husband, but I just almost died like for 2
And I
years.
need a timeout and I
And
can't
I gotta
time back
figure,
in yet. And
right,
like,
right,
I feel like I say this all the time now. It's a test until you pass. So putting you to the side to step up to do for somebody else in that space would have diminished what you were trying to do and how you were going to heal. It's the truth. And you needed to take the step back. Like the grieving process and everything else for other people. Like, I don't want to say it'll always be there because it won't, but for me to say I need a timeout, you have to honor that I need that space right now. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you and your grief and your situation, but I feel you because I specifically remember saying when I first moved back to my house, I had my daughter. My parents would just come in my house willy nilly. Doors, they know they got keys, so they would just come in, and I'm just like, you can't just walk up in my house when you like, where they do that at? But should I have to say that? So you know what? Because, and this is me learning boundaries, because I felt, how am I going to look my parents in the face and be like, give me your keys back, or don't just come over here if you
you
want.
just changed a lot.
I changed the doors and the locks.
I'll do it.
Now, what I'm learning is, because I couldn't say it, but that sent a message, didn't it? And it at least allowed me to have a conversation with them later. Like, I can make it be because I'm a young mom and I'm over here breastfeeding or whatever. How about I just need my space and I need you not to just walk up in it like I don't get the honor of a ringing a doorbell or a knock or a phone call. Like, maybe I want to clean myself up before y'all come over. They just coming to see the baby. I didn't care.
Right.
She'll be
Right.
here and I'll be here, but you still could have called and said, hey, can we come on Tuesday at 4 o'clock? And they got there. Like, but I remember I didn't have I couldn't say it. So I was like, I'll show y'all.
Yeah. But it's all a part of the growth. It's all a part of your healing journey. It's not perfect. It's ugly. It's hurtful.
It is.
People get hurt on your way to your healing. Hopefully they love you enough to understand you on your way to healing.
I think we all get back to the middle, but I think part of it is because of how we were raised, we weren't taught that we needed boundaries either. I think boundaries early on, we grew up with hug your uncle such and such because he's here from, Tennessee, but we all know he a molester. Like, and you kind of sit there like as a kid, like, why do I have to hug him? Right. Like, we still have family. We still got a whole bunch of family where we got, issues of abuse and molestation and everything. And we just supposed to sugarcoat it. Like, I got an uncle that molested his kids. And my mama text, here go his number, wish him a happy birthday. I will not.
I will not.
Like,
But one of the things that my therapist said, and it was key, is you can't establish boundaries if you don't know who you are first. A lot of us, especially in that journey to healing, we try to establish boundaries still not knowing who we are.
mhm.
Right. And so you have to know, I don't care what you say, Mom, I'm not supporting that.
And like
You set your boundaries.
sometimes in getting to healing, we set the boundaries, the walls way too high, but we'll learn to lower them down every once in a while. Like
Yeah.
the thing about healing from trauma and abuse is it's not on anybody's schedule or timetable. You can't tell me how to set boundaries for myself. Like what you can do is honor them and not run them over. And when I realize that I can switch them up or change them, or I'm getting better, so I can be like, I don't need to have 48-hour lockdowns where I don't see nothing. Like you get to that space, and like you said, your people, your core, they'll get with you and they'll figure it out. But the people who's supposed to fall off because they have benefited off of you not having boundaries, or
That part. Can you say that one more time?
the
Well, I
people
need you to say it
the
one more
people who benefit off of you not having boundaries. I've had a lot of those, like, and then they
time.
come back, and now that I have a boundary, or I have, no, I'm not accepting that behavior, or I'm not going to do that, they don't know what to do with me, because I've allowed a lot in a lot of relationships. And now that I know better about who I am and what I want and what I deserve. And here go the key. Please put this in one of your lessons, and the next time y'all have a group thing, like, let me on it. Stop expecting you from other people. The reality is, the way you love, it ain't gonna be how he, she, or anybody else loves. The heart that you have to give, right? You might not get the same kind of heart in return.
Yep.
And we have to stop pretending relationships are what make us whole as women and people. That is not true. You are a whole person before you had a boyfriend, before you became a mother, before you became a wife. We have to stop. I was half and then I became whole, when I know you weren't. If you was half, then you had a whole problem, because you were half a person with a person now. Like,
right. And don't bring, until you are whole, you don't need to be fooling with nobody.
No, you don't need to be in
So don't
nobody's
bring me your half.
relationship. Like, no. And that's, so the other thing that
Don't make
happens
hope.
is people end up in these domestic violence situations, or these just mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. All of the passive aggressive, like I learned that's a big part of narcissism too, because you don't want to pick a fight. You want it to look like I blew up, because you keep leaving all these little grenades in front of me that I didn't react to, and then you got the one that is going to dig at me. But we walk a tightrope trying to honor somebody else's vision of us, because we don't know who we are for ourselves.
Yep.
And it's then you leave these relationships, and instead of healing yourself, instead of learning how you ended up a victim at times. I hate being a victim. I never enjoyed the title or any part of it. But because you allowed yourself to be a victim at times and you didn't heal it, you don't know why, right? Now you've got hurt to heal. You've got work to do. And instead of doing your work, you just go get in bed with another dude. Or you go get, right, you just let me get back into a relationship. And it'll always be with somebody you've already been with, because you don't have the energy or the effort to find somebody new, because you kind of know you just came out the shredder. So you go get some crap that you done already dealt with, that wasn't right for you. Like, we don't even try to heal. And then you just end up crashing into other people, hurt people.
All we do
like,
is complete a cycle.
It is a cycle. And then before you know it, you be, a 60-year-old bitter woman, and all men are garbage. And no, they not. Like, you ain't never done your work.
No. And you can, and like you said, you just keep, even if it's somebody new, you keep dating the same person. Right. Until you heal you're gonna keep getting the same, you're gonna keep attracting the same person. It just look different, but the core, the person is the same. You keep dating the same person.
And if you want to keep finding the same person, I guarantee you he out there. That's the same spirit that could be in plenty of different. You will exactly find the same thing every single time. Every time.
Yep.
Okay, sis, pray us out. We've been on here for an hour and a half. I think I kept you long enough. I want to thank you so much. The opportunity to be able to share space with just open-hearted, intelligent men and women, to be able to be vulnerable and open to share who you are and who you are becoming. I think it is a monumental task, because I see you as being this awesome, flawless individual, but the idea of perfection is fake. I think our ability to share and grow with one another kind of promotes a foundation for healing for women our age, for younger women, for older women. I think we have a new story to tell. I think how it was taught to us, and how it's supposed to look. Yeah. I think we now know, like, we know what the sausage looks like, how to make it. So we got to regroup, rebuild, and reshape and start over. So I appreciate you always, willing to be open and honest and vulnerable and not being afraid anymore.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for, again, thank you for blazing the trails, quite honestly. You know, I'm little sister on the sidelines, like, yeah, my girl, she doing this. And I'm like, I'm doing it with her, I think.
That's
So,
right.
so keep going.
It's not a success if we ain't bringing people with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we
So
got to keep our arms out and keep gathering. There's hurt men, there's hurt women, there's hurt people that could benefit from you and your energy, your healing. And I love the idea of you not being afraid to speak your truth anymore, because you're right. The more you speak it, the further you get away from her. And that shell of a person back there, she doesn't exist anymore. Like when stuff happens to us, we become a whole new, right? You've been cocooned, your butterfly to the feet, like we own something else. The world ain't ready for what we own, don't get me wrong, but we
that
don't
part,
give it to them.
you know, and so and I know I guess we gotta go, but my dad, so life is just so crazy. So my dad and I bought a house together, right? So, you know, dad is the quiet type. He just kind of look, grunt, right? If you don't like it,
You'll
well,
know,
if you do like it, he ain't gonna say nothing.
right?
If you don't like it, now you're gonna hear about
You
it,
will know.
right?
Yes.
And so he said to me one time, you know, I wish you would call that something else. I got a shameless plug, right? Gracefully Broken,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, and I'm in my stuff all the time, right? Like I'm obsessed with it because, like I said, it's passion to my purpose.
Yes.
So he like, I wish you would call it something else. Every time I see it, every time I hear it, it makes me feel like a failure as a parent
Because
because
somebody
how
broke
could
you.
I? Exactly.
Yep.
And so in his mind, Gracefully Broken is his daughter who went through something so hellacious that she's constantly in it.
Yep.
And I had to tell him, like, Daddy, Gracefully Broken ain't for me. Like, this for the ones that's still there because I'm gone. I've left that pace. I've left that space. I was gracefully broken, mercifully mended. That's my IG page. But I'm like, I'm not there. But this is for the
Right.
people that are, because they're still there. Right.
And with that breaking comes a new you. It comes a new chance. It becomes a new opportunity. Like part of your ministry, if you will, for me is you might be broken, but you don't have to stay there. We know
Right.
that like being broken means the chance to mend as well, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And you don't want to get yourself into a place where you've shattered. Like broken don't mean shattered. Like if you get shattered, I don't know how we put that back together, but you know,
Yep.
broken, it's because it's not about how you get broken either. It's to get back up. It's the next chapter, because now that some life has happened, right?
Yeah.
You get to
Yeah.
choose who enters your space for this next chapter, for this next, like men and women, friends, like whatever, job situation, political affiliate, like whatever. You get a choice and a say in everything. And that's the best part about this next chapter is you're not going to ignore red flags. You're not going to be put in a situation that you're uncomfortable and you can't speak your voice. Now you'll always speak up, whether it's for you, for the women in the back, for the ones before you who never hollered. Right now we know there's no fear, there's no shame. It is nothing but like peace on the other side of what y'all said was going to be so like terrifying. And like, but we made it. And the
Thriving.
idea,
Thriving, not just survived it, but we're thriving in it.
we beat it, right? Because I'm not choosing a relationship like that again. Yeah. I'm not ignoring the red flags. I'm not sacrificing myself for somebody else's peace.
Right.
It's the little lessons and the little bricks that help you build, because who you are, if God only made one of you and God don't make no junk, it ain't no man or woman alive on this earth that gets to mistreat me or treat me any kind of way, right? Because I know I have a purpose. The fact that I was broken, but I didn't die, right? Yeah. The fact that I didn't stay silent, the fact that I didn't just come crawling and cry, and you know, like the fact that there is a purpose with your passion, the fact that there are women to reach with your passion. Like, I hear what your dad is saying too, because I would hate my baby girl to have gone through something that would break her. But now you can tell them about the phoenix on the other side. Like you said, this ain't me no more. That's this for people who stay and who don't either don't know how to get out or don't know how to find peace.
Yeah. And so that's the mission, you know. Um it's gracefully broken, right? Not just broken, not beat up,
Not mercilessly
twisted and
broken, not
disgusted.
like irreparably broken, right? You could have had it different.
Right.
It's grace because God helped you get back up. And the
Exactly.
idea for your situation, for my situation, for any young woman in a situation of domestic violence, the idea for us, because we grew up Christian, like we trust God in all things. So the idea that God never left you
Yep.
in all of that, right?
Yep.
Like, because yes, it was bad. Like you don't see the things that God holds back from you because you got your tunnel vision on the one thing that you're dealing with at the time. But for you to be able to have life after, that in and of itself is grace.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. And I can't wait to see what he does with this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm obviously much more obedient, you know, much more open and receptive to his will.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want what he allows. I want
Right.
what he's ordained.
Right.
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 And so I'm humbled that he's allowing me to be the vessel.
Yes, that he has chosen you to be this vessel, because it's not
Right.
about, it's what God wants for my life, not just what I want. Because
Yeah.
like, and I think that's the other thing too, that nobody tells us as young women, like, yeah, he cute, but what else?
Right. Because you dating all his characteristics, not just
You dating a representative. And now, like, if you don't background check, like, and I don't mean like trying to look up felonies and none of that. I mean, like, you better talk to an ex-girlfriend, you better see if he got a cousin, you better find out about that man before you invite him in your space.
Yep.
Because that's the other thing that I realized about us. Like our energy is magic and it attracts any and all kinds. And if you don't have boundaries, if you don't know yourself, if you don't have self-esteem or comfort, then you can't say, no, sir, you don't belong in my energy, or from a distance, right? Like it's a whole lot to grow into a whole woman. It's a whole lot. Like, and it's starting from a place where you've seen some things and you survived some things is a blessing, because you're still here to learn. You know, if he would have killed you, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You would have just been another victim and nobody would have been able to tell your story, right? So you honor that, because it's plenty of women who ain't gonna be strong enough to leave, and that's how we are gonna learn about their stories.
Yeah. And I, you know, for me, I think I believed him. You know, aside from the fact that he had his hands around my neck, crushing my windpipe with his thumbs, the next time it's gonna cost you your life.
Yeah, I believed him too.
He meant it or not, I'm not about to find out.
I believed him too. It's more than a notion. And you know, because you looked him in the eyes when he said it. I remember that look. I told you, like, till this day, I still remember. And it's not something that I forget easily. And I know now if it don't feel right, it's just a no. And I don't owe you an explanation beyond a no. Like,
that's it.
That's
exactly what it is.
It's enough.
And I'm enough to be comfortable saying it's enough. You know, I understand everybody ain't for me, I ain't for everybody, and it's all good. But your fault. Or you know, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay if you're not. I'm okay if I'm not. I no longer feel like I have to show you how good of a woman I am. What if you can't figure it out? That's on you.
It's something about running around trying to prove yourself, and then you forget you the prize the whole time. You forget, right? It didn't. I said this the other day too. It didn't say in the Bible when a woman finds a husband, she finds a good thing. That's not what it said. You've been the prize the whole time, and we was never taught.
Yeah,
well,
I'm gonna tell you what.
I don't owe you to run around and prove to you that I'm not doing something. Like, no, that's way too much energy. But look at how much time you get to spend out trying to prove you're trustworthy, that you're not a hoe, that you right. I'm at work, baby. Like all of that.
It's like literally saving lives, dude.
It's too
You,
much, and
you
the
know,
reality is, you could unwind yourself about, since I got to prove myself to you, what you doing? Like you got a whole lot of questions all the
listen, you
time,
know what they doing.
right? That's why they spinning you out, because they don't want you to know what they're doing.
You know what they're doing. My mother has always said, and it's so funny because, and this, you know, my dad has got this. I hate to see you knowing that you've gone through that. My mother is on the other side. Like I've always told you, you never feel sorry for no man. You never make excuses for no man, and you the prize. I cannot tell, like the wind can blow, and she be like, "Don't forget you the prize." I'm like,
That's it, mama. But that, you know what? She's right, and it's
"Oh,
one of
for
those
sure."
things. Like, it's one of those things that you are going to repeat later on in life.
Yeah,
It's just gonna be like, hello, my name is. It's gonna be, that's how quick it's gonna flow. Because when you get in that space and you start to understand what it means, and you know, Lord willing, you end up with a man who can love you and teach, you know, and also offer some healing and restoration too. About, we always gonna look at folks sideways now, and game is one thing, but game and abuse is something else. The kind of man that comes into our space now and understands that now we're a little seasoned, right? Like we know a little bit about the same game that worked 20 years ago ain't gonna work now. And you might be cute and get in my space for 2 seconds, but I got some tools now so that I can be like,
yeah.
love don't pay the bills, cute ain't got it, you know, like that ain't always
Listen,
always
I
gonna be
could
the
care
end all
less.
be
What you
all.
talking about?
So bad, because after I look at my stepmom, my dad, they've been married almost 40 years. Cute been gone. Okay. Like, so we got like real life and real stuff going on. If it ain't no love and no foundation, how you look?
I'm like, what's the 10-year plan? You know what? What's retirement look like?
And
What?
like real talk, how come like all of these guys that say they're entrepreneur, I'm like, so, and I'll be honest, like entrepreneur from the 90s, like in my day meant you was a drug dealer. So if that's what you're still on right now, like I'm gonna need you to entrepreneur your way up out of my life. So
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, it's more than a notion, but I feel like, again, like I said, it's a test until you pass it. So I put out positive energy, and it does attract some of everybody, and I have to be like, you know what, I'm a grown woman, I ain't about to mess with you, fool. And that's just that.
God gives us discernment, whether we choose to use it or not is on us.
I believe it. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
your gut. Okay, pray us out of here.
Okay. Thank you, Father, for the opportunity to come together. Thank you for your endless blessings. Thank you for your comfort. Thank you for your protection. I pray, Father God, that what was done here will touch the heart of many. I pray, Father God, that someone be encouraged. I pray that someone finds themselves. I pray that someone finds you, Father God. Just continue to bless Stephanie as she puts on Get Out the Boat. Continue to bless her with people that shares her vision, people that can truly go forth and do the work, Father God. I just ask that you continue to keep us in your care. Just continue to give us the vision, and we will continue to trust you, honor you, and praise you.
Yes.
These are all things we ask in your son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
It's been
This
good.
was nice. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. I loved it.